Coming to you from magnificent downtown Spokane, it's the QueerCentric, providing all your needed entertainment value with twice the sass. Thanks to your host, Queerly Johnny.
Hey, welcome to another amazing edition, because it really is always just more and more awesome when you come and listen to the QueerCentric. We're very excited because we have a special guest, I would like to say in studio, but we'll take him on.
You're not
the
talking
phone.
about me, are you?
Yeah, no. Disregard Tom. But I want to say, before we get into things, I wanted to bring him on early because I wanted to be part of every part of our conversation because I miss him. I'm just going to say the great, the extraordinary musician. If you've been out and about in LA, especially, you might have heard him. But Glass Battles, I'll call him Mr. Battles. Hey, how are you?
Hi, Miss Battles if you're nasty.
Exactly. Thank you for picking up my reference. I'm so old. Thank you for taking time. You're a kind of busy man these days. Well, always, but these days because you have a new album and a new song coming.
Yeah. I have a new song, new album. It's kind of all slowly coming together. But yeah, it's been a relatively busy ride so far.
Which is amazing. I mean, I do want to say you are the king of spook pop. And for listeners who have no idea, tell us what that means. Because it's the perfect season. I'm just saying.
It is. The thing is, I think a lot of people usually think that I make kind of just like full gothic like type of music, but to me, spook pop has always meant, sort of any theme musically that's a little left of center. It could be like I think sentimentality is spooky. I think holding on to the past is spooky, and I think that like obviously like darker elements, and I think being honest with your emotions can feel, at least at times, feel a little bit spooky. It's sort of like a grand coverall, but it's, essentially it's kind of what you would expect from pop music with a kind of a different twist in certain elements.
I feel like there's a lot of deeper emotional, you know what I mean? When I listen to your music, that's what I think about. Or lines that come to mind, of course, Meet Me in the Park at Dawn. I mean, all of these, I love the visuals in your music. And that tells me that spook pop, because it's so, like, it's very connected to emotion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, darling. I mean, I'm just people listen to me. Go check out everything that he's ever done, because it's a lot of fun. I play it a lot in my house, so I'm super excited that in the very near future you have the new single "Narcissist" that is coming out. That we've been lucky enough. You sent it to us, but we can't listen. We're not going to tell you people, but you should watch it.
I mean, we could talk about it for sure. I can't preview it yet because it's not done, yet. And I'm too OCD.
I love that we were able to.
It'll never come out, basically.
You have had to wrestle with that part of your personality, and you still release music, so I feel like you have a handle on it. But
yeah, occasionally.
Tell us what it is. Tell us about Narcissist, and tell us what kind of sparked it.
I'm like, I don't even know if I should be telling that story, but no, it's basically sort of started out as talking about a specific individual who I will not name, but it's essentially just it's being in the presence of a narcissist and kind of being taken advantage of, and it's sort of like I wrote it at a very, very angry time.
Yeah. And
so it was just kind of like, and it felt really weird because I usually kind of was like, I like to like the first album that I put out, like I kind of was trying to obscure things and like turn it into like sort of like a fantasy story type of thing. But with the newer music, I'm kind of just like actually just recording like how I feel and speaking from an honest place, because it's, that catharsis was missing sort of for the first album, because, like if you're trying to like kind of like make something so vague that people can't really put their finger on it, eventually like you're not, right. You're not getting that amazing catharsis from those moments. So, but yeah, it's essentially just kind of like, an FU to people that take advantage of other people and kind of, calling them out for their shit,
Yeah. I feel like if I can relate to this, then a lot of people can relate to this.
And I think if anybody doesn't like the song, I think it's because it speaks about them maybe a little bit too much.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm like, there's a reason why you don't like the song, you narcissist. Available on Spotify.
Do you think the pandemic, the lockdown, you had COVID, all of that played into this deeper part of the music that you're releasing now? You're letting the anger out, all of that?
Yeah, and like a lot of sadness, a lot of anger, a lot of feelings of like isolation and emptiness, and a lot of joy too, like unbridled joy and whatever. personal sexual tension from being locked away.
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
it's just and everything. You know, like it was COVID and then it's monkeypox. Like, you know, like the idea of like a sex life just gets further and further away.
I know.
So
it's like we all
fine.
have to go to basically like what's that video you do? Where your friend is just like a hologram.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, that's, you know, and I think what's interesting is that the visuals that I have coming out for everything for this album, for the last two singles, Violetta and Darling, are even more fantastical and even more kind of crazy. But because I wanted to balance like visuals that were like really out there and like really, really kind of, you know, heavily influenced by like cyberpunk and science fiction and that kind of thing. But I wanted the songs to be very from a really honest place and have that balance. That way it's not just, you know, it's not full escapism. It's also, you know, you're getting an actual person's perspective as well as, you know, kind of getting the takeaway where you get to disappear into another world type of thing.
Well, and you were last year. I mean, if people know you and have read anything about you, or I know because I'm friends with you, but you got to do an exciting thing because one of the people you've looked up to, of course, is Shirley Manson.
Yes.
And of Garbage for those of us of that generation.
And like for those who don't have any taste, she's the lead singer of Garbage.
Right? Well, you got to tour. You got to be on stage with her.
Yeah, which is still I feel like I'm still like mentally catching up to that because it just was like, I mean, it was just so crazy. Like I still can't believe it happened. I literally can't believe it happened. I mean, we got connected very sort of like third party-ish in 2020 because Billboard did an article about like, you know, rising artists get to interview their idols or ask questions to their idols basically. So that was surreal in its own. And I was like, at that point, I like, you know, was like, I guess I am going to die this year because this is happening. You know, they've been my favorite band since, you know, since their inception in like, you know, 1995.
Yeah. So,
and then a couple of years later, you know, we built a very lovely sort of casual rapport on social media. And then I got an email from CAA. For those who don't know, is Creative Artists Agency. It's like one of the biggest, if not the biggest agency in the world. And I got an email from them to my Gmail account because I don't have a manager or an agent or anything. And they were like, the subject line was correct booking contact. And I was just kind of like, and I was literally like, I thought it was one of those spam emails where I'd go be like, your horoscope for the month of October, sign up now, blah, blah, blah. And I was just kind of like, they're like, hi, is this the right booking contact? And I was like, for what? Because I didn't know, like, because it's also my personal, it's glassbattles, you know, at gmail.com. I don't know why I just said that. Now everybody has my email address.
Everybody's going to be,
I'm going to be swamped. No. But, and I was just like, yes. And then, you know, I didn't hear anything I didn't get a response right away. And then eventually I got a call from the head of music at CAA and the head of touring or whatever. And it was just such a surreal conversation because I kind of knew, and I have my friend Dalton is my dear friend he's like kind of like he's very much a sleuth and very much like, you know, he's the person who'll be like, I'm gonna figure this out, we're gonna figure out what's going on. And he was just like, he's like, so I just read this article. He was like super excited. He was like, I can't remember what it was, like Variety, Vanity Fair or something. It was like, and Shirley Manson talks about her agent at CAA. Oh. And it's the same person's name that you had mentioned. So I'm pretty sure that Garbage is going to ask you to go on tour. And I was like, stop. I'm like, do not put that in my head.
Right.
Because, you know, because at that point too, I'm like freaking out because I'm like, maybe that is what it is. And then like, you know, suddenly like, you know, let me tell you, like, you know, long story short, obviously it happened, but like the imposter syndrome, like it caught the fuck up. Like you wouldn't believe, like from like moment one, I was like, oh my God, I was like, I literally have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, and they probably made a giant mistake. You know?
They're going to figure it out any moment.
Seriously.
God, no, but I bet to be able to even share the same stage, spend any time, that had to have been crazy.
It was insane. It still is insane, you know, and like, I have to say that like, and this is not just because I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Garbage for many reasons. You know, like I'm not a type of listener. I don't just like follow stan culture. It's not like no matter what they put out, I will love it. It's kind of like I'm a fan of Garbage because of everything that they've put out. Everything has been just kind of like ups the ante every single time. Every album sort of like expands on a new perspective, and it's always fresh, and it's always so much them, and it's always inspired me to kind of like not try hard to follow whatever the
Right.
biggest commercial trend will be. But anyways, but no, they were the entire band, Shirley, Butch, Duke, and Steve, and the entire crew were amazing. Jason and Levi were the part of the tour management team as well, and then Billy Bush, who's a part of the team as well, and he's actually Shirley's husband, was also just incredibly just they were so kind. They put all of us at ease, and this was my first experience like that. And the same for my bandmates of this degree. Like, we've all like done versions of like playing shows and done like little mini tours that we've booked ourselves, but like we've never been around so many esteemed and so many like actual professionals, and like they just treated us like, it just was, there was not a moment of like, there was no ego. And it was kind of cool because I was just like, I'm like, you guys have no idea how terrible I am. Just kidding, but
I actually, this is what now I'm going to put into the universe. We need a collab now between you and Shirley.
I mean, listen, I'm not saying anything, but there's a lot of fun stuff on the album that I can't quite talk about. But we'll see.
So
I mean,
cool.
I'm just saying we'll see. Who knows?
Right.
That's
We
not
don't
even,
know. I guess people have to make sure they go listen to this album just to find out.
Yeah. Or just follow me on whatever, Spotify or whatever.
Right. Well, you really should, though, because I have your obviously your channel is on my Spotify, and so I'll play it at work. And so I love to do it because I'm weird, and I'm like, ooh, I want them to come ask me about this song. Be like, oh yeah, him. I know him.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, Jonathan, like I'm sad we didn't get to spend more time together after before you had left, and afterwards too. I think the pandemic just kind of screwed everything up.
Screwed everything up. I know. I even have a car now, so I mean, I could have been there, but it's gonna happen because I don't believe in nevers or impossibles. And when you meet genuine people know I say this all the time. Keep the genuine people around you. Keep them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've all put up.
Also, you're not that far away now.
No, like not at all.
You don't live in Iowa or anything.
Right, exactly.
No offense to Iowa, I'm sure it's...
Yeah, no offense to Iowa. I've been lost in a cornfield in Iowa and found a Taco Bell. That's all I'm saying. It gets weird.
I mean...
Yeah, it was the most high-tech Taco Bell I've ever seen. So they hide them in cornfields, apparently. That's what's happening there.
Sorry,
also,
my dog's also chiming in. Sorry.
I know. I thought, see, she's trying to support.
Saying, yeah, Taco Bell.
She's like, I have something to say about Iowa.
Right? And I'm telling you, have many... I was reading a Billboard interview with you, and I learned things I didn't know. So one of them is not only is Shirley Manson the goal to work with Shirley Manson, but also Kylie Minogue, which I think would be a dream to work with.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, like I actually have like 3 secret Kylie Minogue like demos, and I'm like, if I pitch these to her and she's like, fuck off, I'm like, I will just somehow try to embody her incredible angelic
she's amazing
pop vocals. But I mean like
she can do it.
Kylie Minogue is incredible. She's the queen of pop to me, at least. I also love Madonna, but
yeah, of course. Kylie seems a little more down to earth lately.
Oh, you think?
Than Madonna. I love Madonna. I grew up on Madonna.
Has Kylie shot her panties into a bin anytime recently, or
and said I'm gay? And I'm like, weren't you already? I feel like. Listen, I'm not young
made
anymore.
A statement. She's like, yeah, in like the 80s, I talked about this a bunch.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Exactly, which is why when everybody was losing their mind, I was like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure
Sorry, I steer us off track. Sorry, we were...
Oh, no, that's the point, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
exactly. I know.
Tangents are sometimes the best part of a conversation. But yeah, I mean, like...
I always throw a stick in the spokes while we're trying to talk about normal stuff.
That's a little more painful, but this works. Also, this is a great way for people to get to know the amazing personality of Glass Battles. What I think is funny, so I'm reading the article in Billboard, and I'm like, oh, see, because I always try to use your stage name. But I have permission now because they said both names to confuse me completely in that article. Right. So, Sean, I will call you Sean as well.
Yes.
The other thing is you also have a dream to have your music in the opening of an intense TV show. I love how broad and random this is. What TV show would you love?
I don't even know. My thing is like I'm obsessed with 2 things when it comes to like any like song that's like a part of like a television show. It either would be like the opening of a show. I want to like do like kind of like a really like moody crime drama like The Mayor of Easttown on HBO with Kate Winslet or like something that's kind of like you're like because I mean like that's just like it's iconic. Or I want to do like a version, like a cover of a song. It's like the dramatic trailer version for a new show or a movie coming out, kind of thing. Where you're like, oh my god, they're covering blah 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 blah. Like,
right. I feel like this is brilliant, and we need to make it happen. It's brilliant.
I mean,
your
I think
music
it will
is
eventually. I mean, a lot of people are
tailor-made.
doing that. I mean, like, hopefully, like, there's this amazing cover of "Where Is My Mind" by the Pixies, and I think it's. I think it's by. I think it's by a group called Safari Riot, or the ones that do it, and it is like the most incredible. Like, the production's incredible. It's so dramatic. The cinema. It's like such an like, and once you like realize what the song actually is, like when the trailer is starting, you're like, oh my god! I feel like all those elements to me kind of like make. I mean, like when you share any kind of creative mediums together, that's when things get really magical and really cool. And I feel like that's always just kind of like a fun, like it's just fun, and that's a lot of what entertainment should be.
As magical
absolutely, a pixie named Kylie Minogue.
Yes, the green fairy.
Circle.
Follow that green fairy.
Exactly.
I also have to say your music is very cinematic anyways. It lends to that. I mean, that's why if you watch your videos, if people watch the videos of Glass Battles, they are very theatrical. You know what I mean? And they have been for a while now. I mean, Glitchcraft, when it came out, I remember the whole package that you released about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you're just.
I mean, like you spoke at you did the interview at my album release party. I mean, like, you were there from like the moment one.
I know. I was so honored that you let me come and do that, and I had so much fun. And I think that was before I saw you do another show down at the Study in Hollywood. And to see you live is a whole other, a performer. That's how it is to know them as a person, and then to see them in their art form. They're just something else comes out of that. And I love talking about that night. It was in West Hollywood at a candle store, right?
Yeah, we did the premiere. So my first album is called Glitchcraft Volume 1, Temptation in the Garden at Dark, and we did. There's this amazing candle store, which sounds ridiculous, but like it's literally like you don't get how cool it is until you actually see it. You're like,
it does sound underwhelming.
It's not Bed Bath and Beyond, people. It's not.
Right. It is literally like
people squirt hand sanitizer and soap everywhere during
the
concert.
It's beautiful. I'm like, everybody gets like cucumber melon hand sanitizer when they come in. It's like
right.
No, but like it was like it's such an amazing space, and we had talked to Anthony Caro, who owns Candle Delirium. I was like, would you be interested if we did this here? And he was like, hell yeah. And I was like, okay, because it's crazy. There's like chandeliers and like just like decorations everywhere. And he goes all out. He's a super Halloween fan as well. But
I mean, Sean is up on this. He's doing the show up on this table, and he is the whole time I'm watching. I'm like, don't fall. It was just amazing. Like, there's nothing and let's be honest, anybody who hasn't been to West Hollywood, they make things way better and way different there than they do if you're in suburbia Spokane. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, so it was an experience.
Yeah, Candle Delirium is literally just insane. And then I partnered with them, and I did like a limited edition of like a bunch of candles that represented different elements from the album and stuff. So that was just, it was like the whole thing was like just amazing. And the turnout was crazy because I kind of expected like a few friends to show up, like, and did the rounds of inviting pretty much everybody that I knew, but like it was such a lovely turnout. And I asked Jonathan, of course, to come and do sort of like a Q&A for the album.
And did Jonathan show up?
He didn't,
I actually did.
Okay. I'm kidding. No.
So many musicians showed up that night, which was so fun. Everybody knew who you were, and I would talk to these musicians. And my favorite thing is I would talk to one of the musicians who I've known for a while. He didn't know who I was, and I'm like, we've gone to coffee. You've been on my show twice, bitch. What do you mean you don't? But it was fun because they were there. They were there to see you.
Like, but that was fun because it's Los Angeles. We've hung out twice. They're like, oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah, exactly. As we say, that's when you've been LA'd.
Yeah. They said, I'm going to pretend we didn't.
Yeah,
right.
That did not happen.
Actually, and I have to give my dear friend Patrick Crowley a shout out because he was the person who essentially like facilitated and had like all of the sort of the brainstorming behind the premiere stuff, and he was the one who like asked me. He's like, "We should do a Q&A. Like, do you know anybody that you would want to ask?" And I was like, "I'd love to ask Kylie Minogue, but if she's not available, then
you should have told me. I would have shown up in one of her short little dresses that are so cute."
You have to show up like on that CD that like kind of like turn when she's on the back of the CD from her live performance.
Oh fuck, she's amazing.
Anyways, it's a gay
also,
thing,
yeah,
guys.
hi Patrick, because of you, I met him and we had coffee. He's the nicest man ever. Just the nicest.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
Incredible.
everybody's like, "What's going on?"
So helpful. Yeah, he
like-
was there for a couple of the dates on tour with Garbage too. He came to a bunch of the shows just to moral support and have some fun. So
That's nice.
Oh, see, this is what I learned. So I get teased on this show a lot because they always say I bring up LA, but I don't bring up LA because I think I'm cool. Because let me tell you, my experience was a little weird down there. But the crazy things that happen is you will meet two types of people in LA. You meet a lot of the what you expect, very narcissistic, and then you meet
Narcissistic.
I know, and it's an
circle.
interesting vibe. Yeah, right. See, I'm here to support this man. And then you'll meet these genuine people that are real, and I think you forget they exist because you've been bombarded by these people.
Of course,
yeah. And I don't need help
You have your
being
guard up.
jaded. I am. That is just my life. But yeah, and of course, Patrick's one of them, and of course, Mr. Battles is also one of them. I mean,
I've been here, and I've been here for 17 years. So it's like when you meet somebody that you actually connect with, like in a real way, it is a special occurrence. Like,
for real.
I think, it's LA has its sort of stereotypes for a reason, and I think a lot of people don't even know that they're being so completely fraudulent because they're just trying. There's just such an air of like. You need to. People want so desperately to be something that like they're like, I'll just be what I think people want me to be, as opposed to being themselves. And
I think you'll find that in any city, but especially in a city like that. Like even in
built
Spokane,
on.
there'll be people where you're like, oh, this feels surface level, and it's probably not real.
Oh, sure.
And you'll find those people, and I'm sure that's just magnified in a place like LA.
Tom, why are you looking at me when you say
I'm
that?
staring straight at you.
Like Jonathan.
literally the most fraudulent person we know is Jonathan.
Exactly.
Like that's why I'm doing this show, because I know that I'm gonna be getting just like nothing but like
I have to
crazy
create my public
lies
persona.
the entire time.
Yeah, I mean it's true. I do have to say, so everybody knows I'm a super fan, but I also want to say that I learned something in reading this little 20 questions with Billboard. You and I are electrocution buddies.
Wait, I'm sorry, we're what?
We're electrocution buddies. Were
We're
you You were
electrocution.
electrocuted?
I thought you said electric fusion. I'm like, I don't know what that is. But
Isn't that the genre that you do for music?
Right. It's part. Yeah.
like that's my restaurant. It's electric fusion and Thai.
I think we should open that. But you were electrocuted on stage.
Right? I was.
I think it's technically shocked when you're not killed.
Well, yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
I mean, like maybe I am. Maybe it's Halloween. Maybe I am.
Hey, he is
Feels
the
like
king
it
of Spook
sometimes.
Pop. He could be dead.
No, we were
I don't know.
I'll try to keep this short because I like ramble always. But we were driving in like some Sprinter that we had gotten to go down to South by Southwest, and we decided to book a couple shows on the way. And we booked in this like charming little town called Cottonwood, Arizona. And I kept calling it Cottonwood, Alabama, because it just sounded like the next.
It kind of rolls off the tongue.
It just sounded better. But anyways, the place was, so like it got billed as this like, music festival, and like they had like a really cool, like flyer and whatever. And so like we were all very like, hell yes, this would be so cool. Like the party doesn't stop. And so we got to this it was a really interesting venue. It was like a theater and a bar combined, and it was beautiful backstage. Like the backstage area was just kind of like in a very old theater, like the smell of like cedar and stuff. It was just kind of like gorgeous. But anyway, so we were playing, we were setting up, and we were doing our sound check or whatever. My bassist at the time, her name is Ashley, and she's amazing, Ashley Crick. And she was like setting up her bass, tuning it and stuff, and she went to like check something on, they had like a house amp to use or whatever, because we didn't want to like unload all the gear if we didn't have to. And she like, shocked her finger, and she's like, ow. And she was like, is that? He was like, yeah. He's like, it's fine. He's like, just be careful. He's like, it's kind of like an older like amp, so just be careful and blah blah blah. And she was like, okay. She's like, and then she was like tuning her bass, and like her bass like shocked her. Like one of the strings was like,
oh my god.
She was like, yeah. She's like, so that happened. And he was like, oh. He's like, well, take a look at it. And they took a look at it, which they probably didn't do anything. And then
they literally just lay their eyes on it.
Yeah, they didn't look.
Pretty much. They're like, yeah, definitely. That is definitely an amp. That's an amp, and that's a bass. And then and I had, so just ridiculously, I had copper, like these giant copper cuffs on that I had like found at like a vintage store, which is all like one of the best conductors of electricity. Anyway, so like during the show, we were like probably like maybe like 3/4 through the set, we were playing like a mid-tempo song, kind of like an emotional song, one of our older demos, and Ashley came over and she like, she was playing her bass and we like had a moment just together, kind of like, bonding, like, like eyes being like, I love you. And she like went to go like give me a kiss on the cheek, and like my like wrists kind of just like shot up, like kind of from my arms. My fingers were like crazy looking. And
my God.
And like, I was like, I just remember I literally, I felt like, it's like she completed the circuit. So like I felt like electricity running through my body.
Oh my
and Tanya,
God.
Tanya was the other front person in the band as well at the time. And so I looked over at her, and she's like looking at me like kind of like she didn't even like put two and two together. She was kind of just like, what are you doing? So I was like, kind of like, and Ashley was like, I could feel Ashley trying to get her lips off of my face or whatever.
Wow.
And like finally she did, and it was just like, and like Tanya was like, what is going on? And like I was like, I'll be right back, because I was like, immediate panic attack.
Oh, for real?
And I like ran backstage, and I was just kind of like threw my cuffs off, and I was like, I'm just sitting there, kind of like tapping different parts of my body, being like, okay,
right,
okay, and like felt super weird for the rest of the performance afterwards.
No
but
doubt.
me and Ashley were joking. Ashley's like, imagine, like, she's like, we're just sitting there like literally fusing together, and Tanya's like, what are you two doing?
Pull it together, show your professionalism, and get back to the set.
I'm like, I can't get her face off of mine, Tanya.
You're like, are we married now? I don't know what's happening.
I'm like, I think we're becoming the same. We're becoming like a Megazord at some point.
Did you have any after effects after the show was over? And
just anxiety. That was fine.
Yeah.
But I got electrocuted too in 2020. I was doing some like live Zoom thing for some performance thing, and I had my like shitty little Amazon astronaut costume on. Yeah, exactly. I just was like, put my wet hair in the outlet, and I was like, why did this happen? No, I just like plugged in my phone, and I literally like, it was like intense though. The thing is, I've been shocked before, and it wasn't just like, ow. It was like kind of like a moment where like I couldn't let go of my phone, and I'm like,
isn't that the weirdest thing? That's you. I feel scared for you that you've twice now you've gotten shocked. Don't
in
do
different scenarios. I'm like, is this a warning, or is this sort of like the universe being like, you're on the right path, or they're like, you have made the wrong choice?
Right.
It's one of the scariest feelings. When I was about 7 or 8, I touched an electric fence for like horses.
Oof.
Yeah, that'll
and that it's so scary because you can't see it. It just happens to you, and then it's like, I don't know what I did wrong. In that case, I touched an electric fence, so I knew what I did wrong. But it just, there's no other feeling like it.
It's weird.
Just, your whole body is freaked out.
That's why my daddy always said, don't pee on an electric fence. Because we're Southern, but
I'm like, or don't kiss somebody when you're wearing copper bracelets while playing
piss
live
on a
wire
robot.
bass.
Yeah. Maybe
don't piss on a robot.
See, maybe this is the thing, because when I was
in Cottonwood, Arizona,
when I was in my 20s and I was touring with my then album, way back then, I was at a country fair in Colorado, in Pueblo, Colorado, and I was on stage, and we still had corded mics. And it was raining, and I'm like, no, I'm still doing this. They're like, you don't have to do this. I'm doing the show. I did not drive. I'm not doing this fair circuit for fun. I'm doing the show. Get on the show. And they said, just don't touch the mic. And I'm like, fine. But you're feeling the music. And I grabbed the mic, and my hand, I mean, I could taste battery acid. My hand would not. Die. Yeah. I had 7 songs to go on my set. My hand won't come off the mic, and I'm like, fuck you, I'm finishing my set. Finished the set, walked off the stage, and passed out. Next thing I'm awake, and I'm in the EMT tent.
I have such a question though. Like, so what performance are you doing where you're not allowed to touch the microphone? Like,
I know. I'm like, dude, there's got to, and I know cordless mics
they're
work.
Like, don't touch the mic. It's just,
but it just wasn't like. They're like, well, you're just the low key outdoor artist, so we're not gonna worry about it.
But also, like, maybe just don't have the festival then. If you don't like have a microphone that's not gonna electrocute people.
Yeah, exactly.
All the power that runs the festival goes through this microphone, so don't touch it.
Right. This is the power of God in Colorado.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're gay and you sing it on it,
this mic will kill you. If you touch it and you're gay, it'll shock you to death. And you're like, oh, whatever.
Well, that's the weird thing, like you were mentioning. It's your muscles just.
They seize up.
They contract and they don't uncontract.
That's right. There are videos of people almost dying, and nobody knows it's happening to them. People just touch something that's killing them.
Yeah, I think Tanya thought I was just like having a weird like kind of. I was like kind of looking at her with kind of like this like gnarled face with my wrists up, and she kind of was like just. She was just kind of like, what are you doing? You're so silly.
What's your childhood trauma?
In the church, they'd say, "Oh, the spirit's taking him."
Yeah, the spirit's saying, yeah. That's what they
The spirit of Cottonwood, Arizona, y'all.
Maybe we're all dead, and we are actually doing this from beyond the veil.
Listen,
That'd
it's
be
the
nice.
Godcast. Yes.
Oh.
Oh. I mean, these are the things we like to talk about. Okay, before we get into other things, there's also some. I learned so much about you. I was just like, what? I didn't know that. What? I didn't know that. Are you serious that you do transcendental meditation?
Of course, yeah.
I am enthralled.
That's when you move teeth from one person's mouth to the other?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dentists have to come in. It's very special.
No, yeah, it's very intimate.
Yeah. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that. Well, I think actively, I guess, probably the past like 5, 6, 7 years or so.
Wow.
But I've been kind of like naturally into meditation since I was a kid. Like I remember when I was a child, I wasn't like, my family is Catholic. Like there wasn't really like a very like new age spiritualist like vibe in the household. But like I've found myself meditating before I even knew what that was. Before the internet even came around to tell me.
Wow, you're like 80.
For a
pretty much.
oh, I thought that was the meditation.
Agrees.
Really,
that's me. That's my reaction. But yes.
For someone like me who doesn't know exactly what that means, can you explain what that means?
Oop, I'm losing you guys audio wise.
Can you?
Let me repeat. For someone like me who doesn't really know what that sort of meditation is, can you sort of explain what that means?
Sure. So essentially, transcendental meditation, it's a series of, you hit like meditation benchmarks, and it's sort of like the deeper you go into what they would call like a meditation trance, or like this kind of like psychological, like it's almost like, I'm trying to think without sounding completely insane. Transcendental meditation is essentially getting to the point of like such deep relaxation that your mind is you suddenly are able to like I get a lot of creative ideas from it. I get a lot of, what do you call it? I would say visions, but I'm not like opening my eye. I'm not hallucinating. Like they're like in my mind, but it's kind of essentially it's just sort of like the deepest, most elevated form of bringing your body and your mind into this sort of trance that is,
it's like a connection that is deeper than I think most people get on a regular basis.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, it's also, it takes a long time to get to a place, because it takes a lot of practice, because it's it's like any sort of any sort of muscle.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry when he's like, no, it doesn't. It's not that hard.
She's like, I do it every day.
Like, you're lying. You're a dog. No, but like it's just very, 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 very deep meditation, to put it into like sort of like layman's terms.
And it's a very, talk about, all I think about, because I meditate, but that's like 101 compared to what transcendental meditation, which is what I wish I was disciplined enough to do, but it takes a lot of self-discipline.
And listen, like I had, I've been doing it for a long time, and I don't do it all the time. I'm by no means like this, like spiritually awakened. Like I'm kind of like spiritually half asleep, but like in a good way, on this positive end. But during 2020, like I did that so much, because I remember, everybody was like, it seems like everybody was like doing like, we're day drinking. And I was like, I refuse to drink during the pandemic, because I refuse to have a hangover during the pandemic, because I'm already like fucking crazy. I'm already think I'm going to die every second. I literally was like double gloving, double masking, going to 7-Eleven and like using, I was the person that was like using hand sanitizer on every bag from the grocery store afterwards.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, because I also didn't realize that like, like high levels of alcohol are like literally wipe off the ink off of like all the bags and stuff. So I'm like, kind of just like, I'm like, oh no. But I'm like, is this bad too? But anyways, it was just kind of like, so my solace was kind of at night. I would do a lot of like really, really deep transcendental meditations, and got a lot of kind of, self-perspective. It's essentially just kind of going deeper into your own mind and deeper into yourself. And what comes out is always interesting, because essentially it's just sort of you're unlocking parts of your brain that are already there.
Yeah. Which is, I think, as an artist of any kind, what a great tool it can be, which is why I've always wanted to do it. But I'll meditate and my brain is like, fuck you. How dare you hold me hostage? Yeah.
Meditation sometimes is just telling your brain to shut up for an hour. Yeah. Like, it's just kind of like, it doesn't have to,
Exactly. It's allowing yourself to kind of center and find a quiet place. But transcendental is that's my goal. So when I'm 75, You wait. I'm gonna be so
Yeah, I
good.
don't think
In like
it's
60
honestly,
years
like,
when you're 70.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Because this 15-year-old is just in
I know.
his amazing podcast.
Right. He's such life experience, and I'm an
Such a
old
mature-
soul.
yeah.
I'm an
So mature
old
for
soul.
high school.
Hey, what are you doing?
Didn't you hear that we're launching a Patreon?
You don't have to stand in line for that.
Well, how else am I going to holla or do a standing ovation or a shout out?
Okay, those are tier levels. You don't have to physically do them.
Well, maybe I want to do them.
You felt like standing out in the rainy coldness of the Northwest.
Well, why are you out here then?
Because you're outside the studio, where we actually do the show.
Oh, damn. I just thought all these people were as excited as I am.
Well, they're mostly sound engineers on break. Hey, Andy.
Did you see all the fun stuff we're giving out if you pledge monthly?
Oh my god, yes, and it's as low as like $3 a month.
What? We have t-shirts, exclusive content, early access,
Behind the scenes stuff, comedy.
and people can even send us suggestions for one of our mock commercials, and we will make it happen.
And there's even more than that.
It makes me want to join.
Well, if people want to join and support us, they can do that simply by going to patreon.com/thequeercentric. There'll even be a link on our website.
Boy, with all this fun stuff, how will we ever have time to record the show?
Yeah, I've been wanting to talk to you about your workload.
Uh-oh.
But one of the things I want to talk about as we continue to talk about things, but I'm going to throw some things that are happening right now in, which is as an artist, your hope is to make an impact. Your hope is that no matter what you choose to put your, stake your flag in and say, this is how I want to express myself. I want to talk because it happened. And I don't know at least in the gay community, we were all shook when Leslie Jordan, when it was announced that he was in a car accident in Hollywood and he was 67 years, he's 67 years old and he passed. Because I think, you would, if you were in West Hollywood, you would eventually run into this man. If you were in Palm Springs, you'd run. He was kind to everyone that at least I knew. And then we get this scary, and and they keep telling us, well, he probably had, a medical emergency that made him lose control and run into a building. But he impacted seeing the tributes going on, not only in the queer community, but in the straight heterosexual community. It's amazing how many people's lives he touched. I mean, that's the dream. That's the gold standard.
He sort of had a career reawakening during
did.
COVID.
He was headed to the studio when this happened. Yeah. He was doing Call Me Kat with Mayim Bialik, and he had a call, and he was supposed to be there. And that's where he was headed when he hit the wall.
I really see, because I'm not like one of those people that are like so into Leslie. I mean, I know about him, and I really liked him. Everybody liked him.
Yeah.
But I didn't follow him on social media, so I actually went to his social media as soon as I heard. And his last video that he posted, he said, "Hey, I'm making some music." And his last song that he sang, dang, that hurt me listening to him
saw
sing.
that.
Man, like it and it's one of those things where people try to like subscribe meaning to different things that happen. It's like it is just so weird that he's singing songs about going to heaven the day before he dies. That's so
it's insane.
Yeah,
now,
and he was like talking about how much how much gospel meant to him too, and how much the friend that helped him write the song. I was like, ooh, I got chills all over my body.
I hope he recorded something. Like he got in studio and recorded something.
He was recording an album.
Well, he said he plans on recording this song, so I don't.
He was doing a gospel album.
Yeah.
And so I think there are some things in the vault that no doubt will be released.
Yeah.
But it's one thing for the world, for those of us that saw it, we read it, it was there. Is it a different vibe there? Because you're right there in the world where he existed a lot of the time.
Well, it's crazy because there's so many celebrities that have impacted me when they had passed away, like Amy Winehouse and things like that. Even Anne Heche, I thought I was such a fan of her work. She was such an incredible artist. Yeah. But Leslie Jordan I've never seen personal stories to the degree that I saw with him. Like it was just kind of like, because you usually be like, oh, I loved their music, I love what they did, blah blah blah. They were like, I was in Palm Springs and Leslie Jordan pulled me aside. He's like, you're a shorty like me. We gotta stick together. Kind of like every story was like very personal. And it wasn't even just like, he was so nice to me at the airport. Like he was like, actually like, he'd take me out to dinner and blah, 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 blah. Like he was kind of like, such a kind soul. But yeah, I was like and it's not weird to be in Hollywood because I live in West Hollywood, so it's not that far. But I was that morning too. And I was just kind of like, you fucking kidding me? Because I saw like somebody post the original, like the TMZ photo, and I was like, no shit.
I know.
Really?
It was that horrible moment. I mean, I was at work with the,
I woke up to the news.
admittedly a bunch of right-wing people that I work with, and I was just socked in the gut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so funny because you think of someone at his age and you're like, oh, well, I guess life could happen to you. But it feels like Leslie would have just lived forever. I don't know. Despite how sometimes he did seem a little frail but he still just seemed like one of those people that's just going to keep chugging along.
Right. I remember watching him.
He's like a Betty White type of
Exactly.
Exactly. I remember watching his feller hunker downers in the Instagram during the pandemic because that's where people are like
the whale shit.
My boyfriend's ringtone is literally whale shit. What y'all doing?
What y'all doing? Exactly. Yeah.
It's and that's good for him. But the other eerie thing that he talks about his family a lot and growing up in the South, and his dad died when he was 11 years old in a plane crash, and so it was like, come on. Do we need to do we have to do this again?
Well, and he was what hurts my heart a little bit too is he was his mother's primary caretaker.
Yes,
she has to be in her late 80s, early 90s, like in her 90s, and he was the one who was looking after her. And it's just,
it's also just kind of like like I can only imagine whatever medical emergency it was. Like my brain is like hypothesizing like if someone has a seizure while they're driving or something. It's kind of just like. That to me is just even more senseless. It's like, I don't know.
Just of all the chances of him just happening to be driving, and then also, in Hollywood, him not being at a stop. Just the chances,
Exactly.
Yeah. But I think so. What I just keep trying to take away from it is that how amazing, like you were saying, Sean, the stories of how actually personable and a good person. I remember when I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma when I was in my early 30s, and I worked at a spa, and it was his favorite spa, and he would come to Tulsa, and it was the first time I knew who he was, first time I'd ever seen him. He would show up in a fur coat, a big hat, and have an entourage of gay men around him, and he's
literally his character from Will and Grace.
Yes,
Beverly Leslie.
Yes, and he was the most fabulous creature I'd ever seen in my life. Yeah. I was just like,
what a babe when he was younger too. He was such a babe, by the way.
Know.
I was shocked. I saw a picture of him from the 70s, and I was like, the fuck?
Oh yeah, he was.
Who is this?
Yeah, and he still stayed
70s.
Exactly. His first acting coach told him he was too gay for Hollywood.
And he said, what are you talking about?
Yeah, he was like, fuck that.
He's like, well, shit.
Exactly.
Guess I'll do it anyways.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
I love it. But that's the kind of artist I think we strive to be, is to make those impacts on people with what you choose to do to express yourself.
Right. And I know a lot of his recovery too and stuff, I think, from addiction was a part of that because a huge tenet of that is kind of like how can you be of service to the people around you?
I was seeing testimonies from people on Instagram, them saying that I was in the same one of the same sort of recovery groups as he was, and how encouraging he was, and how he would basically he took time to sit down with everybody in the group and just sort of kind of talk through with things and give some advice about what's worked for him. And just how he was such a selfless, like his time was so valuable, but it seems like he was willing to give it to everybody.
Yeah. Like, it's heartbreaking.
What a great person.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think also it's just kind of like, it just goes to, show that some people are just too good for this world in a way, And Betty White was such a cunt, which is probably why she died so late,
Endless Hollywood stories about her, right?
Yeah, that bitch.
It was awful.
It's so
she
true.
Was the worst.
I had an ice cream cone. She slapped it out of my hand and stomped it on the ground.
Right.
exactly.
She literally ran over one of my relatives once, and then backed up and did it again.
Exactly.
She said to me,
she was like, Halle Berry.
No one will ever believe you. As she drove away.
Yes,
She pulled
exactly.
a Caitlyn Jenner before Caitlyn Jenner.
Yes. So many of those damn things. Well, what I love, so my favorite thing about reading about pop culture is when I see artists who use their joy, like he did, but also it came out this week that Paramore's Hayley Williams she penned a letter to her queer marginalized fans. And because there was an incident when I believe it was at the Vegas show they were doing, where there was racism and there was some homophobia, and she decided it happens too much in, as she says, the punk realm. So she wanted to do something that said, first of all, we condemn this. Second of all, punk is a place for all of us, and it always has been, and it needs to be safe for these people. And I thought she didn't have to say shit. You know what I mean? Like, we can all just be like, it wasn't me. It's people at my show. It's fuck that. But she didn't. She actually, it was a very sweet letter that she wrote. And I thought to take the time to do that at all is nice to see an artist that steps outside of themselves.
For sure.
To, not be a dick, basically, which is my philosophy in life. Let's just be less of a dick every day. That's what we got.
Right. My thing is, like, it's also, I think it's the bare minimum as an artist. I'm like, we're kind of afforded these like crazy careers, or at least experiences, if not full careers. But like, it's not hard to be like, it's wrong to be a bad person. Like, it's really not like, and I think I'm not denigrating anything she said. I think that's amazing. But I think that like the fact that most artists don't do that, like, either shows kind of like a different perspective than perhaps is not as palatable, or it's just somebody that's afraid to like ruffle even the wrong.
They don't want to rock the boat.
Right. And I'm like, there's not a boat to be rocked when it comes to like being like a genuinely like just like a decent person. Like, you're not like, it's not fucking like the fact that like, perspectives on, human rights and treating people like equals has become a radical point of view.
It is sort of funny.
I guess has always been one, I suppose.
But
like,
it does feel like it's heightened.
All the time public figures will sort of tiptoe. They're like, it's like, oh, well, I don't want racists to not come to my movie.
Yeah. I mean, if we're willing to
it's because the industry is run by money. It's unfortunate.
Exactly.
It's run by numbers.
I mean, why do you think that Adidas came out and said, "Well, we haven't said that we've kicked Kanye out."
Well, now
it's under we're under advisement. That was what I saw yesterday. Did they finally
officially happened? And then that's kind of funny. They finally said, "Okay, we're parting with him." They said like annually they have like $250 million of net profit that comes from having business with him. They also own the rights to his designs and the label for his shoes. So he actually apparently got kicked out of Skechers' office.
He did, because he showed up.
Yeah, he showed up there, and they just said, "We're not doing business with you either." And they got him right out of there.
And this is what I want Hayley Williams' story to be just as loud as we're giving Ye or whatever the fuck he calls himself
Kanye.
these days.
I'm calling him Kanye.
Yeah. Asshole is who that is.
Did you see what he said on the podcast too? He was asking for it. Yeah. He said, "Isn't it funny that I can say bad stuff about Jews and I will not lose my deal with Adidas? Isn't that funny? I can say anything I want about any race."
Like
and then the next day they're like, "Oh, actually you can't. We're gonna get rid of that."
Right.
But
also, I think it's hilarious for those who don't know the sort of the CEO of Skechers is like, she is family, honey. She is like, I'm like, you went to the wrong shoe place.
That is like, not your friend.
I'm like, girlfriend's not gonna let you have that.
Go to like Goose Step Shoes or something like that. And maybe they'll take you in.
Right. I was just, and that's what gets me, because
they won't, because he's black. I'm like, that's the problem too.
He's in a weird spot,
right?
It's a weird spot for anybody who's of a marginalized community to be. It's like Candace Owens. I'm like, what the fuck happened to you that like your platform is, you think that you're, I don't know.
If you're a black man aligning yourself with white supremists, then you're doing something wrong.
And you think that well, and here's the other thing, host of The Daily Show. Why can't I think? Trevor Noah.
Oh.
Trevor Noah came out because on a break during the show when he was taping the show, someone said, why have you not made jokes about Kanye? And I have to say, I think Kanye's earned all of the commentary that we're giving him. But at the same time, he goes, this is what makes me sad. He's so rich that we all know that he has a mental disorder and he takes meds. And when he's off meds, a lot of these things start happening. He goes, why aren't we saying to Kanye before all this goes down, hey, buddy, you're off your meds. It's getting a little out of hand. But we don't, because he's got all this money and no one wants to. We just want to be a bunch of yes men.
Who's we? I mean, the public, obviously not. But like he has people around him that maybe they are. I mean, I guess we don't know.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would hope so.
He's a millionaire with like a team of hundreds of people.
Which a bunch of yes men probably, but they're also
Yeah.
like, hey, it's easier for us to give you yeses when you're giving us stuff that's easy to say yes to. You know?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is where I think Trevor know a way to take the high road. I'm not going to take it, but I understand what you're saying. But at the same time, Kanye is getting crazy, like, fucker, like, reel it in. And then let's talk about people like Haley Williams more, that's trying to give a safe place, create a safe world.
But it's not. Yeah, but it's not. There's no chaos, and like media is obsessed with chaos.
Oh yeah, we want reality show everywhere.
It does get the clicks.
And to be honest, like, you know, like mental illness, it's not fair for people that have the same disorders who are unmedicated that don't do things like this, because like he's also an asshole. Like he is definitely living with mental illness,
right?
But he's also a jerk. Like, it's not just that. Like it's not as obviously that's such a nuanced thing. I know that's such a blanket statement to make, but like, you know, like there's.
I think even on his best day.
Yeah. I mean, the effort it takes for someone who has bipolar schizophrenia, like the effort it takes to stay just getting your, and then he's out here just making everybody think even worse about people who are dealing with real things. And
it's also traumatic. Yeah.
Yeah. We've taken that conversation. Well, him alone has taken that conversation back.
Well, and what I'm always conflicted too, because even when he's on his meds and everything, he chooses to continue to be a public figure when he knows that he has these bouts.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people that have, like celebrities in history, that have said, you know what, my personal health and well-being, I'm going to prioritize those, or the well-being of my family, or what have you. I'm gonna pull away from being a public figure.
I can't imagine being like, the thing is, it's so much. Fame is a traumatic experience, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, I do feel empathetic or compassionate towards him. Like, it's got to be an incredibly compounding situation, because even this press feeds the trauma too. Like, we're not helping this person by making this a headline either. Like,
I'm sort of the devil's advocate. I always think, hey, he probably has enough money to live off of for the rest of his life if he adjusts the way that he lives. Like, if he gets a cheaper house and gets a cheaper car and stops, buying what he's buying. He could pull away from the public and focus on his mental health, and he could get to a better spot while not needing to continue to make money, even though he lost 3/4 of his wealth by ending this deal.
Right.
He still has.
Well, I think that's
he's
future
really well
earnings. So hopefully he has a smart money person.
His net worth is now only $500 million when it used to be up $2 billion. So
I can't even look at that.
But that's also net worth too. His wealth is probably much more than that too.
I guess that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Net worth is sort of kind of this like digitized.
Maybe that helps my point. I don't know. I'm just saying that if he had the right people around him, then he should make that choice for himself and for his family.
I don't feel bad for him. Yeah, I don't. I mean, like, dude.
I hope he does too. And honestly, like, I think that redemption is like, I don't believe in cancel culture.
I don't either.
In most ways.
I don't care enough to hate the guy. I just don't
like Harvey Weinstein. Not so much forgiving, but like Bill Cosby. No, but like when it comes to like somebody that's like going through a period of time and being surrounded by yes people and being surrounded by so much money and so much so much opportunity and wealth and his fans. I saw a meme that like chilled me to the bone. That was like, the reason why we're speaking out is for obvious reasons, and also I think the statistic, whether or not I'm paraphrasing or if it's actually correct, they're like, there's roughly like 15 million Jews in the world, and he has 18 million followers on Instagram. This is why this is important.
Yes, exactly. And I don't think we do think about that. We don't boil it down to these very important facts. Yeah,
I mean, we definitely don't, because we had a president for 4 years that was the product of that as well. Like, I'm like, this is what happens when people, and I think that people honestly are attracted to not being perfect, which I think is also like the backlash of social media. I'm like, I think that Trump became popularized because he emboldened racists and bigots
Right.
and whatever, but also because the people that maybe aren't those things also just saw him as a person, didn't have to play by the rules, because we're so sick of having to be like prim and proper, being like, if you're in the public eye, we don't ever
Right.
say anything honest, you know, like, and I
Yep.
think that, you know, whether or not I don't agree with pretty much anything Trump has ever said,
Right.
but his sort of like tent pole was this like aggressive honesty, whether or not he's even feeling the same way. But like, you know, it really emboldened all these people to be like, yeah, that's like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
Like, I
the
don't give a
ugly
fuck what
is
people
full
think.
display. Yeah, full
I mean,
display
like,
assholes
yeah.
as they carry guns in Arizona to ballot boxes. It takes us to a whole other world. Well,
It's also,
as
the thing is, anyways, let's swerve.
I know we do a lot here. As we begin to slow down, this show actually comes out the day before Halloween, which is very
Amazing.
exciting, and I feel very appropriate. Are you doing anything for Halloween?
I'm going to an event, and I'm going as Pugsley Adams, but with like a bunch of friends, and just kind of, because the thing is, like, so there's this like big thing. The theme was Austin Powers, and I'm just like, I can't. Like, I loved Austin Powers as like the movies were like silly, like whatever.
Right.
It also was like a million years ago, but I'm like, this is not like a Halloween thing. This is like a frat party thing where like
Right.
guys say "yeah, baby" all night long.
It is very
But-
fun to say.
Yeah.
It is absolutely, but no. So I'm going with a few friends, but
I
and
like
it's the first time I've done like a Halloween party in like literally years, not even just the pandemic. I'm like, I typically, for somebody who loves Halloween as I do,
Yeah.
it's like New Year's where like it always comes up kind of like, you know, like short, and you're like, all right, I'm like watching a movie by myself. It's fine.
Right. Yeah. Because you don't think about it till like you're like, it's 2 days away. What? Yeah, those kinds of things. But I do hope your social media will have Pugsley Adams pictures.
Yeah, which is also like not. I mean, like, trust me, like my eyes are rolling too. It is like the most like unimaginative
But it's
costume,
fun.
but like.
Fun though.
But I'm also like I'm performing at Palm Springs Pride on November 4th.
That's
so
right.
I'm not trying to go out like guns blazing on Halloween, because I need
Right.
to be like, you know, I've learned that, you know, I've learned over many years that you need to, you know, like it takes a lot to be in
Yeah.
enough energy to like jump around for 45 minutes.
That's
Like
fair.
I know a lot
Yeah.
of people probably, it's like the craziest cardio workout. And I'm
Right.
singing. I'm out of breath telling one of my another long-winded rambles, but like it's kind of like, you know, I remember because when I was on tour with Garbage, half the tour got canceled because everyone essentially got sick with COVID.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like the third night. We had like 4 nights, I believe, like out of the 8 that were scheduled. It was a very capsule thing too. I know Garbage is like, Shirley and the band are very, very much like planning with care and responsibility to the crew,
Right.
to everyone working. They're like, the reason why they booked it for only 8 shows is because in 2021 they're like, you know, we don't know what we're going to do next year. We don't know if it's going to work. Like, we don't know if
Right.
like COVID's going to kind of like have an effect. So let's not book, you know, the entire world over and see what happens. But
Right.
anyways, but I remember the third night I was just kind of like, I wasn't sick yet, but I remember being so tired, like in song 2, like of the set or whatever, that I was like kind of like walking around, but I was still jumping around, but in my mind I'm like, don't stand still. I'm like, the second you like stand still, because I was like, it feels so good, like to just stop for a second.
Like,
I
it's
just kinda
so
wanna,
cozy right here.
I just want to go to sleep right
Lock
here
my
on
knees
this
and fall asleep like a
beautiful
horse.
stage. No, seriously, pretty much. Like, and just kind of like have my like, you know, band play the rest of the music. As
And
I
they'll say,
just
"Oh, he's
Right.
getting shocked again. We need to."
Yeah, exactly. We need
a cute
pay.
little nap. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and did you announce something? Who is going to be down there when you're doing Palm Springs Pride?
Oh, I'm performing with. So I didn't actually get the lineup until, or I didn't know where the lineup was, because I am also like very much like, you know, as much as I enjoy social media, I'm like, where do I get this information? But I guess like Pussy Riot's playing.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
which is insane. Like, that's kind
That
of
is
like, I was so
crazy.
impressed with just the choice to do that, and
Right.
you know, to have that amazing, incredible, like they're such, you know, they're not just musical icons, they're political icons.
Yes.
Like, they're just
Yeah. They have
like
done
actual,
a lot.
right,
Yeah.
like crazy rebellion, and also just that they're extremely active with the Russian government or rebellious against, and all the above, and kind of with all, all things dealing with, these topics a lot of artists just don't want to even touch.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah, they've never been afraid. Never. They just go right in. And so remind the people who listen to our show, when is Palm Springs Pride? Because it's never, people are always so shocked, but it's too hot in the summer to have Palm Springs Pride. So they're smart, and they have it in November.
I think they're smart too, because I think they do it because there's so many Pride festivals, especially in Southern California, and in like June and July, it's always those two things.
Yeah.
And there's so many overlapping dates. I think they're smart to have it, but also because it's the literal fucking desert. It's going to be November 4th through the 6th.
Love.
And I am playing on the 4th on that Friday, like 6:30 p.m. But I'm excited too because they have such an amazing setup. The light show's incredible. They have an LED wall, so I've been working on visuals for that as well. And I'm glad that we're in the fall, because that means you get to see the visuals and the lights as they should be at nighttime, because Pride festivals are always during the day into the night too. So it's a blessing to get booked at any time, but it's always kind of there's always that little tiny selfish detail where you're like, oh man, it's the afternoon, they're not going to see anything, but so this will be cool to kind of not have to cut corners with any of the experience.
And because you're in the desert, it stays warm, so you can stay late. You're not going to freeze.
Well, it's going to be 74 degrees, I think. I've already checked. And it goes down to
freezing
52
in Southern California.
It is.
Yeah.
60 degrees is when everybody's like, this is too much. And you pull out your sweater.
It's been it was 90 degree stuff finally ended last week. And I'm I can't stress how much, as a person, as an East Coast baby from Massachusetts, I sometimes greatly resent it being hot and sunny all the time. I know that sounds crazy, but it really does. You have to have variety. It feels like you're in
that's what I hear from people.
It's like an insane asylum.
I hear people say that it doesn't feel like we have weather.
I don't care.
Yeah. Exactly.
It rains once, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I can have different emotions right now, other than being like, what are you guys doing? We should go to the beach or
and you figure if you wear a single strip of cloth to Pride, then if the weather does dip, then you're going to be feeling it. But other than that, it does. Throughout the year, it is nice to have a little bit.
What do you mean if?
Yeah. I'm like, I thumbs up to all those that can do that. I'm typically I'm very much a layered outfit kind of gal.
Well,
but
the other great thing about going to Palm Springs is it is the land of the bears. So I always loved going there because I could layer up and it wouldn't matter. People are like, yeah, that's the bear outfit. That is exactly how that should be.
A button up and dress shoes. And
I wear a flannel now that I'm in the Northwest, and I like it.
You bought your first flannel.
Also, Palm Springs is just nice. I mean, I feel like Los Angeles is haunted by such strange energies. I'm it's nice to just kind of literally go anywhere for a few days. So and me and my bandmates and a couple of friends are getting a house. So
that's my favorite.
We're going through for a few days. So it's gonna be a nice little Airbnb vacation.
Yeah.
And we haven't really gotten to do that in a long time. So, and it's not really anything extravagant. It's going to be just us probably because there's a jacuzzi and a grill in the backyard. I'm I'm not going to be going anywhere.
I'm a sucker for a jacuzzi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that's what I would do every year is I would rent a house with friends in Palm Springs. It's my favorite thing to do. So I will be taking planes from now on because I can't miss it anymore. But really quickly, why don't you tell our listeners where can they find out more about you?
Pardon me as I cough. I'm nowhere. Now I think Instagram's probably where I post the most because I have a lot of music videos coming out over the next few months, and a lot of them are from the first two singles too. It's kind of it's gonna become this whole cinematic event, and my skill set has gotten so much better since I started in 2020 with my visual stuff. But Instagram for sure, because I just I post there regularly. It seems to be the easiest platform to get. Twitter still confounds me, and
and I feel like it's on the other side of the
hill
now.
Yeah. Well, now that Elon Musk bought it
he's
too,
gonna make it all great.
Oh yeah. It'll be...
Oh yeah, it's not going to be Parlor. It's not. He swears.
No, not at all. Yeah, whatever. Whatever.
Sure, people can have their platform. I'm let's not do that. Actually, I'm some people shouldn't have a platform. That's okay.
Yeah, and we will live without it. Well, everybody, please go check out Glass Battle's music. It's absolutely amazing, and there's new. So listen, you have this small spread of time. go catch up on everything he's ever done,
Okay.
and then you'll be ready for the new stuff.
Oh, okay.
I know. See how I did that? That would be great. But Sean, my friend, it is so good to hear your voice. I'm gonna have to bug you on a phone call after one of these days. After this,
no, we need to catch up for sure.
Yes,
thank you guys. Thank you everyone. Like, this has been so much fun. Like, I was just excited that Jonathan asked me, and I knew that he always works with such great people too. So it was a pleasure.
I try. Don't give them too big a head, though. That's
it's already done for me. Yeah.
Well, I love you.
I quit after this show.
Yeah, right. I love you with all my heart, and thank you for giving our fans something new and wonderful to check out, or to just fangirl out on you because they already love you. So
yes, absolutely.
And have a wonderful Halloween and Pride down in Palm Springs.
You too, honey. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Well, and that, of course, was Glass Battles. Like he said, find him on Instagram. He has some amazing theatrical videos you can go look at. It's always fun to talk to Sean. The reason, Tom, you probably noticed, that him and I get along is because we can just ramble, and I love it.
It's great for podcasts. It's better than dead air, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. So him and I used to have 4-hour coffees. You know, that's just how that goes.
With one coffee?
Oh, please. Is it ever one coffee with me?
No. Every 45 minutes, you grab another.
Exactly. So that was I feel like we're going to have so many guests that come on. I'm like, there has to be a part 2. And there will be. We'll have Sean back when the album
The important
drops.
part is they need to feel like there should be a part 2. So
what are you talking about? I'm like, why do you keep saying no to me? I thought you would come back on. No, we're pretty like around here. Remember, you can check out the podcast, even the one that's out. Any of the last 8 or 9 that have been out. Please go to www.thequeercentric.com. As you heard in a commercial a little earlier, remember now we have Patreon. It's very exciting.
It's new. It's fresh. It's cool.
Yeah. And it's going to be amazing. So we have lots of things to give away. If you want to support us, it's as little as $3 all the way up. You can actually do whatever you want. You can do a blank, I want to give them $8,000. We'll take it.
We'll be a little mad because you didn't pick one of our tiers, but we'll figure out what to do with the money.
Because you get cool things with the tiers. But anyways, check that out at patreon.com/thequeercentric. But until next time, children.
Bye.
Bye.